George ran, class clown. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Toiletman. Chapter 1. It's so cold out here, my brothers are freezing. George Brown told his friend Alex as the boys trudged through the snow on their way to their friend Chris's house. This wind is making my eyes tear, Alex said. It's lucky the salt and tears keep them from freezing. Can you imagine having ice eyeballs? The only good thing about it being so cold, George said, is that none of the grown-ups are going to want to go outside and shovel their own walks, which means more money for us. George reached up and pushed Chris's doorbell. A minute later, Chris came to the door in his pajamas. You can't shovel in those, Alex told him. Put on your snow pants. We've got to get to work before some other kids start a shoveling business. Chris shook his head. I can shovel today, he told the boys. What are you talking about? George says. We planned it all our last night when they announced school was going to be closed. I know, Chris admitted, but I'm working on my new Toiletman comic book. I'm really on a roll. I can't stop now. George frowned. He knew that Chris loved making his comic books, but they were taking money here. Can't you draw later? He asked. No, I have to get at least 5 pages drawn today to stay on my schedule, Chris said. Alex and George looked at each other. What was Chris talking about? What schedule? Alex asked him. Randy said if I can draw 22-page Toiletman comic book, he will print it for me and sell it as a limited edition. Chris explained. He's doing a special local artist week promotion at his store. If I want to be part of it, I have to get this done really fast. Well, George said, that was impressive. Randy was the owner of the Made for One-Times comic book shop. If Randy thought Chris's Toiletman comic was good enough to sell, it had to be really terrific. I'm sorry, guys. Chris apologized, but I can't shovel snow with you today. It's okay, Alex said. Come on, George. George nodded. Good luck with the comic, he told Chris. We'll see you in school tomorrow. He looked out at the mounds of snow and the gray clouds overhead. If there is school, he added, you'll never know, the snow might snow again. It might snow again today. Think of it this way, Alex said a little while later as he and George shoveled the snow that has piled outside George's mom's craft shop. Can't wait. George's mom's Anna. We only have to split the money 2 days, which means more money for each of us. True, George added a big pile of snow to the mound he and Alex were building off to the side of the store. What are you going to do with your cash? Alex asked him. George didn't answer. He couldn't. He was afraid to open his mouth. Something awful might slip out if he did. Bing, bong, ping, pong. Something awful was already bouncing around his belly. There were bubbles in there, hundreds of them, and they weren't ordinary one of the mill's stomach bubbles either. They were magical super burp bubbles. There you would be in trouble if those bubbles broke loose. There was always trouble when the magical super burp came out. George's bubble trouble has started right after his family moved to Beaverbrook. George's dad was in the army and his family moved around a lot, which meant George had been the new kid in school lots of times, so he understood that first days can be rotten. But this first day was the rottenest. In his old school, George was the class clown. George promised himself that things were going to be different this time. No more frowns, no more making funny faces behind teachers' backs. Unfortunately, George didn't have to be a math whiz to figure out how many friends a new unfunny kid makes on his first day of school. 0, none, nada. That night, George's parents took him out to Ernie's Ice Cream Emporium just to cheer him up. While they were sitting outside and George was finishing his root beer float, a shooting star flashed across the sky. So George made a wish. I want to make kids laugh, but not getting into trouble. Unfortunately, the star was gone before George could finish the wish, so only half came through the first half. A minute later, George had a funny feeling in his belly. It was like there were hundreds of tiny bubbles bouncing around there. The bubbles ping-ponged their way into his chest and bing-bonged their way up into his throat. Then, burp! George let out a big burp, a huge burp, a super burp. The super was loud and it was magic. Suddenly, George lost control of his arm and legs. It was like they had minds of their own. His hands grabbed straws and sucked them into his nose like a walrus. Miss Reed jumped on the table and started dancing the hockey pocky. Everyone at Anna's Ice Cream Emporium started laughing except George's parents, who were covered in the ice cream he'd kicked over a while he was dancing. After the night, the bird came back over again. And every time it did, it made a mess of things. That was why George couldn't let the bird burst out of him now, not right in front of his mom's door. But the magical super bird really wanted to come out and play. Cling clang, fling flang. The bubbles were beating on his body and leaping over his lungs. Bing bong, the bubbles trampled onto George's tongue. Gling glong, they gathered on his gums. And then, burp! Bubble, bubble. George was in trouble. Dude, no. Alex shouted. Dude, yes, the magical super bird was free. Now George had to do whatever the bird wanted to. And what the bird wanted to do was have a snowball fight. George's hand reached for some snow. They packed it into a tight ball and then bam! George pelted Alex right in the leg with the snowball. Hey, okay, you asked for it. He bent down to pick up some snow of his own. Bam, bam, bam. Bam! Before Alex could even stand up, George pelted him with 4 more snowballs right in the rear end. Normally, George would never have been able to make the many snowballs that fast, but it's a little known fact that magical super bursts are snowball making machines. Alex stood up. He was tired to run away from the oncoming snowballs, but the bird was ready for him. George threw a snowball at Alex's head with his left hand. He threw a snowball at Alex's belly with his right hand. Alex tried to leap out of the way. George threw a snowball at Alex's knees. He threw another at his shoulder. Alex moved to the left. Bam! George got him in the gut. Alex jumped to right. Bam! George slammed him in the ribs. George, stop that right now! George heard a familiar voice. He turned to see his mother. She had come outside to see what was going on. Get back to work, his mother told him. I need the Starbucks trouble so my customers can get through. George wanted to get back to work. He really did. But birds don't like to work. Birds just want to have fun. So George made another snowball and another, and then he started juggling the snowballs, throwing and catching, throwing and catching. George's mom walked towards him, scolding, "Stop that now. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you." "Do stop," Alex pleaded. But George couldn't stop. The bird wouldn't let him. Throw, catch, throw. Splat! A snowball hit George's mom right on top of her head. Her eyes grew really big. She was really surprised. Just then George felt something burst in the bottom of his belly. All the air rushed out of him. The magical super bird was gone, but George was still there. And so was his mom. She had snow in her hair.